Insurance agents from around the world, welcome to the Insurance Guys podcast. My name is Scott Howell, your fearless host and leader, insurance agency owner and insurance evangelist for I Protect Insurance and Financial Services, based out of Huntsville, Alabama. And before we get started on today's episode, please help me welcome. He is a 6'3" sophomore from Mobile, Alabama. Parade first team All-American, Rivals 5-star recruit. He is a fantastic insurance agent and a great American. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and welcome the incomparable Mr. Bradley Flowers. How are you, Bradley?
I'm great. How are you?
Best I've ever been. Hey, guys, we promised, so we're going to deliver. We're about to play, and I'm going to give you just a little bit of context. So last week, I have a standing order with my entire team that if we have a client that is big mad, meaning wanting to cuss somebody out, wanting to skin off in the parking lot, wanting to give everybody a good cussing, we have a standing order in all of my offices with all of my people. They are to call time out and let that person know, I have the best news you have heard possibly this year. I'm going to hang up that phone right now, and when I hang up, I want you to hold your cell phone right by your hand, right in your hand, and within 2 minutes, Scott Howell is going to be calling you. And there is nothing in this world more than I love more than getting these, the way we do it, it's called an SOS 911 text. Last week, I got an SOS 911 text from Mr. Bruce Payne. There was not our client, but a guy who was following behind one of our clients who owns a dump truck. This guy isn't even my client. Oh. And I get this SOS 911 text. I call Bruce. He says, hey, this guy's threatening to come down, saying he's coming down here to the office. He won't, blah, 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 blah. Here's the phone call.
It's going to cost a lot more money. I try to be nice with everybody. Okay, your dude admitted it.
Hey, Chris.
Videos and everything.
Chris.
Okay?
Chris.
What?
Chris. This is
I'm
Scott.
not from here, dude. All right?
Understood.
And now I got to come up with this money to fix this windshield
Chris.
thing. No.
Chris.
Hey, excuse me, sir.
This is Scott Howell, agency owner. Can you just calm down and just tell me
No, man, because they.
Can you just tell me what? Can you just tell me what happened? I just want to know what happened.
I'm coming down the road. I'm about 400 feet behind your dude driving the truck. Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
What were you driving?
A 2017 Chrysler 200.
Chrysler 200.
Right.
So private passenger vehicle, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. And you're 400 feet. You said 400 feet behind a guy.
Yeah, and I think that the sign said 200. I was further than that. You know what I mean? Me and three other people. All right. More than just one big rock came off the top of his truck.
Sure.
No, it didn't bounce and nothing like that. I mean, it's fucking, because he was going pretty.
He sounds
fast,
drunk.
faster than what he should have been.
Right.
Smashed my windshield.
Okay.
All right. Me and the two other vehicles saw it. They had to swerve out of the way.
Mm-hmm.
We all tried to stop and pull him over. He
Did you get
up and kept going.
Can I ask another question?
Yes, sir.
Those other witnesses that you're talking about, did you happen to get their name and number?
I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I didn't.
I wish you had. All right. Next question.
I got on the phone. I seen the number on the side truck, the company, and I tried calling.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
I would have got a police report and shit, but he said, well,
can I ask another question?
yes, sir.
You said 2 or 3 times, I'm not from around here. Are you in the process, like maybe yesterday or today, were you driving, say, to Louisville, Kentucky or somewhere?
No, sir. I was just up there doing some business.
Okay.
I live in Alabama.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Just further south.
Okay. Gunnersville?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Perfect. I lived in Gunnersville for 10 years. So let me ask you this question. I'm on a fact-finding mission here. I want to help you, but you are so pissed off right now that I can't. Before now, nobody's been able to get a word in to figure out what we can do, and that's all I'm trying to do is help you. I promise I am.
Aggravated me.
I know, and I'm trying to get you. I'm trying to get you unaggravated. So I will do my dead level best to help you any way I can, if that's possible. But I got some other questions I'm on a fact-finding mission right now, just to try to figure out what we can do. Okay.
Ask him, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I mean,
how bad? So you said the rocks hit your windshield.
no,
Is
it's
it
one good rock.
okay? Okay. Did it? In terms of damage, like, could you take a picture and send it to me of what it looks like?
Yeah, look, I'm going to say the window's smashed. Yeah, I'm going to take a picture for you. I mean, I got three on my phone.
Smashed as in I dropped a bowling ball off of a overhead bridge and it went through it?
When it hit, it went boom and bounced like it hit off my windshield. Bam! It looks like someone shot my windshield.
Gotcha. So it is splintered, as in there ain't no putting some clear fingernail polish on this.
No, sir. No,
Gotcha.
sir. No, sir.
Gotcha.
If it was like that, I wouldn't be going there.
100%.
I would not be going through this.
Okay, understood.
But I
So,
done been by the lady who repairs it there in Aberville.
right.
And she said you can't. She said you got to replace the whole thing.
Well, if you did that, then did she give you an estimate to replace it?
She said like $475 altogether for that car.
Okay, perfect. That helps a lot. So, you mentioned earlier when you were talking to Bruce, I was on that call and he accidentally hung up on you while we called you back. I'm sure you thought we hung up on you. We didn't. But you said something about a dash cam. So you do have footage of this?
Yes, sir.
You honestly do?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So if I met you...
There it is, Bradley. Now, before that, the call before that, I was on that call. Bruce was so mad because that guy wouldn't let him talk, and then he wouldn't let the account manager that answered the phone before that talk. Bruce got so mad, I think his cheek hit the end button on the call. Because at that point in time, I am sitting in the cut back here listening, just on a three-way call.
Light speed or something
and
like that.
they had started, the two of them, screaming at each other so loudly, and neither one would let the other talk, that I think Bruce's cheek hit the end button. And so when that happened, he called me back, and I said, Bruce, let me explain something to you, man. It's something I had to teach Clint a long time ago. You cannot let yourself get mad with these types of calls, because once you get to that point, your adrenaline kicks in and the hormones kick in, and then you can't think because your monkey brain takes over, and the only thing you're thinking about when you let yourself get mad in a call like that is, I want to just fist fight. Let's just go outside and fist fight. Because then it's the physicality takes over, and you can't think. Now, guys, there's about three things I want everybody to listen to on this, and then I want to get Ryan's take on it. Number one, how to resolve, conflict and get some type of resolution. Some of the things you heard on that call, I tried my dead level best to stay calm. The very first thing I do with all of these calls like this, and most of the time it's not a third party, most of the, I'm about to come down there, Scott, and just whip your ass in the parking lot if I don't shoot you calls I get, which is probably once a month, are from claim calls. Now remember, guys, claim calls, emotions are raw. They're pissed. They're super big mad, very similar to this.
A lot of times dealing with maybe the worst thing they've ever dealt with.
Well, worst thing they've ever done. Justers won't answer the phone. Juster won't email them back. Juster just left their house, told them the claim wasn't going to be paid for, whatever it may be. Here's the first thing I do, guys. Number one, I just ask, tell me what happened. Because human nature is, when somebody will listen to you tell, and you're able to tell your story, just getting that out, boy, that really starts calming them down. Rule number two, I ask a lot of questions, but they're questions that lets them be, and then it's questions that stops them for a second and they have to explain a little deeper. But then if you notice, I think 12 times in this phone call, he has to say, yes, that's right to me. So I'm repeating back to him kind of what he's saying. Like, oh, okay, so
You're making him feel heard.
correct, 100%, 100%. That's the second
That's like
thing.
the Chris Voss. If somebody's upset and they tell you why they're upset,
That's where I got
you
it
just
from.
repeat it back.
Yes. Now, the third thing, the last thing I'll say, and I'm going to shut up and let Ryan talk about this for just a second. The third thing I always do, At the very end of the call, that call was 8 minutes long, so you couldn't hear the totality of it. But the very last thing I do is I repeat back what each one of us are going to do. I get agreement from them, and then I end the call with making damn sure whatever I say I'm going to do gets done, because you've built all this altitude now. You don't want to lose it. Yeah. So if you say, I'm going to call you Friday at 12 noon, by golly, blood, bleeder, blister, you better call them at 12 noon. Anyway,
so that your client hit a rock and the rock hit the windshield?
My client had a dump truck.
And something flew off. Okay.
Correct.
Because I was about to ask,
allegedly,
if a truck hits a rock and a rock hits a windshield, why is that the truck's fault? But anyway.
Right, allegedly, yeah. Ryan, go ahead.
So, first, this is the agency principal's job. I love that you're taking these calls. Mm-hmm. Too often, we push these types of calls off to manager of sales, manager of service, someone else, and we don't take these. Mm-hmm. And this is the agency principal's job. The fact that you're the agency owner, the agency principal, however you want to refer to yourself, that in of itself allows the upset individual to know I'm talking to someone who can actually make a decision, which is why it's so important that on these calls you get involved. So I love that. There's only one, and I'm going to get, dude, this is a masterclass. Like literally you could build an entire program out around what you just did. There's only one thing that I wouldn't have done.
What's that?
And frankly, it's just a phrase.
Sure.
Very early on in trying to get his attention, I know what you were doing. You said the words calm down. Mm-hmm. I would,
people hate
for
it
anyone
when
listening
you say
in the future, I would try to use different language only because by saying calm down, it feels to the person who's upset like
putting them down,
like they're wrong.
Yeah,
you're right. Yeah. You're wrong for the way you're acting, even though they are.
In
for
his
being
defense,
upset.
though, it sounded like in the beginning that call was going to go one way.
Yeah.
And because you got loud real quick, and then when he calmed down, you calmed down. Mm-hmm. But it's when I first started listening to it last week, I thought, oh, this is about to be a knockdown drag out. I'm about to be entertained as hell.
And I have sent you some knockdown drag outs.
Yeah, you have.
Yeah.
But it sounds like maybe the reason you said calm down is you thought it was going to get ugly, and you're like, if it's going to get ugly, let's just get ugly.
But even when I get into a knockdown drag out, I'm not letting myself get mad enough for my what is that hormone that's caused from the adrenaline that your monkey brain kicks in, and it's like, okay, we're just going to fist fight.
Fight or flight.
Right. Yeah. I still stay calm enough that I can actually
No, you
think.
Are phenomenal. I'm not, that is not a,
No, I'm not talking about that
like
call.
I said, it's a masterclass.
Bradley's heard some calls that are a lot worse than that. Worse than that.
Oh, we've all had calls. Oh, yeah. You know, we all occasionally, but no, I think it was a masterclass. I think instead of just, again, this is being highly critical. I thought, again, I think it was phenomenal. I think there's two tacks you could take. You could use slightly different, less, like you could say, sir, it sounds to me like you're very upset. Mm-hmm. I'm just having a hard time understanding what you're trying to get across. Something like that, right? Which doesn't put blame on them or whatever. Again, that's another level. The other thing you can just do there, guys, is just be quiet. Yeah. Literally, just if they want to just rant and rave, literally don't say a word and let them scream, and they will scream themselves out. They're like babies, right? They will blast at you, and then eventually, when you haven't responded, they'll shut up because they're like, "Are you still there?" Right? And then you can respond. So other than that, here's the things I loved, absolutely frigging loved. Was one, you said it. I call them clarifying questions. Right. Chris Voss would call it mirroring. Sure. Right. He would say something and you say, here's what I heard. Did I hear you right? That's what you were saying, right?
100%.
And he, like you said, he kept coming back and having to say yes. Those yeses feel to that upset person like progress, right? It feels like something's happening because they're like confirming, hey, this guy's actually hearing me and it's confirming. So those clarifying questions are amazing.
A Chrysler 300. You went like to the granular facts, details.
Yes.
Which
it's not just a car, it's a Chrysler, whatever the hell, right?
And you're taking them out of the emotion because now I have to think. now I have to answer questions that I can't have them. You know what I mean?
Well, like I said yesterday,
I'm surprised you didn't ask what
clicks.
color the car was.
Yeah.
They also start going, this might be an official report. I might be giving an official report right now. So they start thinking details, and it's very hard to be angry when you're focused on details. So awesome. Love that. Clarifying questions are both in sales and service. The next thing that I heard you do was you started establishing goals and expectations for the call as soon as you possibly could. I'm here to gather facts so that I can help you. Right. And then I think you had him clarify that he heard what you said, right? That this is what you were here for. So now not only does he feel like he's being heard because you're asking clarifying questions, you're also now setting expectations for the call. So now it's starting to feel, again, we're trying to get them to feel like all they want is for something to happen, right? They want progress. They want to feel like they're not stuck, and you're doing that. Other things, you never raised your voice. Even when you said calm down, you didn't raise your voice. You elevated the volume a little so he could hear you. But you were never aggressive in your tone ever. That's 100%.
And guys, please remember, 5 minutes before this call, 5 minutes, he had told somebody he was coming to our Priceville office to whip somebody's ass. Exact verbiage.
Right. So, and that's because they feel, again, not right. I'm not condoning that language. But if you understand where they're coming from, they feel like they're not being heard. They're stuck and nothing's going to happen. So a couple other just super quick ones. You used real language through the whole thing. You never got insurance-y. You never got technical. You never got down into the I'm smarter than you or you don't understand how this works. You use real, honest to goodness, conversational language through the whole thing. And then this one's duplicate. I wrote this down twice, but you got agreement. So, dude, I that's wonderful. I mean, literally,
how did he
people
know?
Should go back and listen to that, have their whole staff listen to that, because that's really good stuff.
How did he know that y'all were the insurance agent?
He caught up with the driver and started
berating the driver,
MFing him.
Yeah. And
the driver called the owner, who we have insured. This guy is over here screaming, yelling, blah, blah, blah. And I think the named insured or the owner of the policy said, I'll just give them Bruce Payne's name and let's see we got our insurance.
Well, I guess that says that the company's not going to pay it out of pocket, because I would be like, dude, you just need to pay us out of pocket to avoid,
Well, I mean, we'll figure it out. I'm not worried about it. I wanted to play that call because I think for a lot of agency owners, Ryan is exactly right. That's what separates an agency owner from an employee, is you have to you're the goalie. Again, I say this all the time. Everything's your fault. And at the end of the day, when it gets down to that right there, it's now you're on the line. You're the last line of defense. And it should not be the responsibility of a 25-year-old female in some office somewhere to have to put up with that shit. If you want to be an agency owner and you want to have the big house and the cars and the nice stuff and your kids go to private school, by God, you better be willing to get on those kinds of calls and answer the bell. Not your damn 24-year-old account manager in some satellite office that you're like, well, I'm on the golf course right now. Just talk to them and try to figure it out.
You got to jump on the grenade.
100%.
Yeah. This is why I think the first move that an agency owner has to make once they get off the ground with their agency and hit escape velocity, once you hit that point where you got a little bit of revenue coming in, you can pay your bills, you have to transition out of being the number one producer in an agency. You have to. You have to. If you are the number one producer in your agency and you're more than a few years old, there's a problem. Because our role as agency owners, produce revenue, business development, awesome, right? But if you're still answering questions and putting them on forms, that's a problem, right? You should be hand-holding people in, handing them to your person, whoever your closer is, your killer, and letting them do that work. Because the real job is the support of your people, right? I remember I was in a team meeting. There's I think we were towards the top of the max number of people we had at Rogue, and one of our employees just made a dumb mistake, right? It happens all the time. You know, it wasn't like earth shattering, but she made a dumb mistake. And she's kind of talking about it on the call to the team and sharing what happened and whatever. And, you know, I said, you know, I just asked her a few clarifying questions and I said, well, you feel good enough that it's not going to happen again? And she goes, yeah, no, that won't happen again. I figured out how to blah, blah. I can't even remember what the problem was. And I said, great, you're good. I said, all right, you know, I said, if you need anything, you know, give me a call or text me, or, you know, if you want tomorrow, we can do 20 minutes just to make sure you got it locked in. And she said, yeah, I'd love that. I said, okay, that was it. I got a call from her later that day and she's crying. And now I think there's like something's wrong, right? And she's like, I've never, this sounds like I'm tooting my horn. I don't mean it to be. It's just my philosophy. She goes, I've never had a boss tell me that they were there to serve me.
Right.
And this is like your job when you're at the top is not to be the man or the woman. It's literally to be the support structure for all the people that live and work inside your business.
You work for them.
That's your job. Your job becomes, how do I support them so they can be their best? And I feel like we get so caught up in new business production that we let all this other stuff go. And then we wonder why there's all these cracks and leaks and problems that pop up. And it's because we're not there putting our fingers in the dam.
It's a great segue into the tweet you wanted to talk about.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's do it, guys. By the way, this is Hanley's Hot Takes. Sorry, I should have said that to begin with. Apologize.
We need a Hanley's Hot Takes
button.
So,
Bradley put out a tweet on Twitter the other day, or X, whatever we're calling it. And I guess it's X. And it captured me immediately. I think it's wonderfully done, and I agree with it. I'm sure, do you guys send out links to this stuff? I'm sure you can put the link out or whatever in the show notes. But basically, it says there are 3 phases to building a company. Learn how to sell, learn how to build, learn how to lead. And then he breaks them down. And Brandon, I'll transition over to you and you can talk a little more about this. But I think this is right on point. This is the natural evolution of a leader. And we get caught in 1 and never move to 2 or 3. And you can see those businesses are the ones that they may have revenue production, but they're constantly flailing in every other aspect of their business. They feel overwhelmed. You feel stressed out. If you're sitting here listening to this and you feel that way, there's a decent chance it's because you never moved off of phase 1, learn how to sell. So Bradley, maybe you could just break this down, talk about it, and we can go from here.
And the thing is about these phases too is it doesn't mean you can't do all 3 at the same time. It's just one is always more important than the other 2.
Right.
You know, if you're running an agency and you're the bottleneck and you're the top seller, it doesn't mean you're not building and you're not leading. It just means sales is more important. And as you get bigger, sales becomes less important. Building becomes more important. Leading becomes more important. And it's interesting. I've said this on the podcast before, but I'll tell Ryan. So my E&O agent is Angela Schroeder with US E&O Brokers. She only does E&O for insurance brokers. In my opinion, she's a top E&O agent in the country. She sees like the real with agencies. Not only does she see P&L, she knows if they've had E&O claims. She knows how they're operating. And she and I were having a conversation, and she said, Bradley, at my firm, we call $750,000 in revenue to $1 million in revenue no man's land. She said, because that's where most agency owners get stuck, because that's the point where you have to start actually building processes. You can no longer be the top salesperson. If you do, you'll kill yourself.
Right.
And we had this long conversation. It was interesting. I immediately reached out to Carrie Wallace and I said, hey, how big is the average independent agency in the United States of America? And she said 750,000 to $1 million in revenue. And I was like, that's where most people get stuck. They can't get out of being the top salesperson, everything being sales driven. And the thing is, it's like, you know, when we started Portal, man, if you were willing to talk to us, we would sell you insurance. Like I remember I wrote a non-standard auto client, like a real non-standard client, and I was just excited to book revenue. You know, I mean, we started, you know, we had to do $400 in new revenue a day our first year in business to keep the lights on. The only thing that mattered was new revenue. Somebody comes in and they're upset about something, or the ball gets dropped, that doesn't matter, you know. And then as you transition, as you get bigger, you have to build those processes in place to catch that stuff. And you as the agency owner transition away from selling. And I did it at 13 months. It was really hard because not only am I passing the sales baton off to my team and they're not selling as much as me, but I'm having to sacrifice some revenue to do that. But I know that's going to set us up for long term because one can't outsell three if everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. And you have to build those processes. And then you get to the point where we're at and where I think Rogue was at is, we're at 21 employees now, including VAs. We're at 21 employees. We have 5 VAs where I'm really the most important thing to me is how to lead these people. And, when you've got 5 employees, it's easy to lead. When you've got 7 employees, it's easy to lead. When you get above like 10, you're getting to a point where not everybody in the building likes you. Not everybody in the building has the same goals you do. Not everybody in the building is aligned. And that's where it starts. And so that's where we are now is I'm trying to educate myself on being a leader to 21 people because we have the processes, we have the sales, but where we break down are leadership things. And by the way, like if one day, hopefully we get to 50, that's going to look a lot different from a leadership standpoint than 21. We get to 120. I've got a buddy who I'm having lunch with Friday that's got 200 employees all across the country. I'm like, that looks completely different than what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So I think when you look at your agency, those are the 3 steps: sell, build, lead. Because as you get bigger, more sales cause more problems. They don't solve them. Because if you don't have processes, number one, and you write a big account, like you're opening yourself up to things going wrong. If you're a leader and you hire a bunch of people to get more sales and you don't have the leadership skills there, which by the way, I think I'm a solid 4 out of 10 leader, and I'm probably harder on myself than other people are. I think my people here would rank me higher, but I recognize that I need to improve in those areas. I think Scott's a much better leader than I am.
I don't know about that.
Why do you think people get stuck at phase 1, 750K?
I think it's a byproduct of so many agencies are operated that way, and that's the only barometer they have. They've never seen an agency that's operated differently. I think it's that. I think it's an addiction to revenue. I had a buddy who had a farmer's agency, and when we started Portal, I started Portal with 2 employees day one, which is not the norm. Normally it's one. You start with one person, and it's you. And he was maybe 6 years in, and he was like, man, I want to hire people, but I can't because my lifestyle has gotten accustomed to the profit that the agency's making. And I was like, well, look, here's the thing. When you hire people, it's painful either way. Either there's pain on the front end because you're losing even more money than you would, or it's pain because 6 years down the road or 2 years down the road, you have to decrease your lifestyle to hire those people. You're making an investment. And my philosophy is you're going to lose money the first year either way. It might as well be just a little bit more and your life is easier, I think it's a combination of those things. And then I also think that most agency owners used to be producers. And we just got done talking in the last podcast with Dan Gable. If you haven't listened to it, go back and listen to it. That most producers are control freaks and can't delegate properly. And I think of those 3, it's mostly the third one where we're just in this producer mindset.
Or I have never agreed with Bradley Flowers more in my entire life. It's either, and I hate to say the word too cheap, but they get used to this lifestyle and what they're making, that income, and they're like, well, if I hire somebody else, there's X number of dollars that goes out of what I can put in my pocket. Or they are a control freak, and I have seen this 1,000 times in insurance. I've got to do everything. I can't delegate to anybody else. Yeah. I can't hire anybody else because then they're just going to be sitting here playing paper football and looking at TikTok because I'm not going to give them anything to do because I can't delegate. Or number 3, here comes the third one. They are a piece of shit human being, a garbage human being who can't keep good people because people just don't work for them.
I think it's also...
Or a combination of the 3.
I think one thing that, we all know agency owners, Ryan, who own, like I know agency owners who have no idea what insurance soup is. I have agency owners who have no idea that there are any insurance podcasts. I know agency owners who have no idea that any of the shit that all of us do, you know what I mean? What I call insurance land. and they're just in their little bubble, right? And so one thing that's cool about the network that us three have and the people list this podcast is like we can call a Billy Wagner who's doing $1 million in new premium a month. We can call a Matt Namol, these people who are just freaking, Paradiso, Carruthers that are just awesome. So like I was talking to an agency owner a couple months ago, and he's bragging to me about his agency is 8 years old. And man, he's like kind of putting me down a little bit. And what I do in those situations is I just let them think they're right. I'm not going to try to correct you. And he's like, yeah, man, we're a nice size agency. We've done super well. Somebody local, by the way. And I was like, oh, cool. How big's your agency? $4 million in premium. I'm like, bro, we did $4 million in new business last year. I didn't say that to him, but I'm like, in his bubble, he thinks he's successful. So I think a lot of these guys get to $750K in revenue, and they're like, dude, we're freaking killing it.
Call the ball.
There's nothing to compare it to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I also think it's funny when people talk about premium like it's sales.
Yeah.
It's like that's not even your money. You're a fiduciary for the premium. Right. Your sales are your revenue. Like that's not how that works really. But I'd say, I think I'd encapsulate a lot of the more negative aspects that you guys described and Scott described as ego.
Yeah.
I have found our industry, while loyal and compassionate and just all around great people, I enjoy our space so much, the people of our space. Certainly the product hasn't kept me around, but the people in this industry are why I love coming back and giving back. That being said, in general, even though most people are great people, we have a very high level of ego that operates in our industry.
100%.
And I think that you start an agency, you take all the risk, you live those shitty 2, 3, 4 first years that just, even if you're successful, are still tough as hell, and you break out of that a little bit and you're seeing bigger numbers. I think it's very, very difficult from a pure ego perspective for a lot of the men and women in our industry to then pass the torch to someone else. They're used to being the person. They're used to being the number one, the big dog.
It's like back when I was playing golf, there would be guys that I would go play on the golf course with that were good golfers, but would never play in a tournament.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to face the music that they probably weren't good enough to actually do it when it mattered. And I think it's like I know I need to hire people, but I'm going to pretend like I don't want to because I actually don't want to face the music that I'm probably not the best leader.
So around the same time, I stopped selling at Rogue because I had to transition. I had hired a couple salespeople, and I knew that our business was so process driven that if I didn't break out of that and start working on the other stuff, that we wouldn't be successful, everything we said. And I did a keynote about a month after I stopped selling. And we were in the, I think it was Q&A towards the end. Someone asked me a question about asked me something about me producing. And I said, I don't produce anymore. And at least 3/4, if not more of the room had a physical reaction to that.
Reaction.
Like, what are you don't produce anymore? What are you doing there? And then I had to explain to them, I'm building SOPs. I'm working on automations. I'm listening to customer calls. I'm helping account execs with tough claim scenarios or all the stuff that we just talked about. I'm like,
serving
all
your
that
people
has to be put into process, right? I have to help these people. They're flailing. If I'm 8 hours a day on sales calls and renewal calls, I can't actually give them any directive on where to go. And like it really was an eye-opening experience. And this is only, I've been speaking for 15 years, and this was 2 years ago. It was an eye-opening experience to me to how many people like literally had a physical reaction, like either moved back in their chair or shifted weird, or their facial expression to me telling them that I had stopped selling, and that was a conscious decision. It was like, oh, what do you mean you're not selling? It was like that. And
you're not a real agency owner, right?
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, you're not a real agency owner if you're not selling. And it's like, that's not true. Like the leader of the agency doesn't even have to have a freaking license. Just you have to be a leader. You have to lead the business, right? Like, and if you want to be, this is my other thing. Let's say you listen to all this and you're like, you know what, you three are full of shit. I crush as a salesperson. I'm going to be our number one salesperson. That's what it is. Okay, great. Hire a president.
Well, it goes back to like EOS, like your integrator and your what's the other position? Visionary.
Yeah, you'd be the visionary, and you'd let someone be the integrator. Like, hire that person, because someone needs to run the day-to-day. They have to. Or people are going to start making their own decisions, and then you're going to be pissed when they don't make decisions you agree with. And frankly, that will be your fault, not that employee's fault.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's move off that, go to our next Hanley's Hot Take. And the next one we talked about, and this is where we left off the last one that we did a few weeks ago. And that was, if I'm not mistaken, help me out here.
It's a CrowdStrike thing.
I believe it was this article that appeared in Reinsurance Business. Hold on just a second. Okay. CrowdStrike outage. How much did it cost the reinsurance industry? Guy Carpenter on the effects of this year's biggest cyber event thus far. So here's what I know about this, Ryan, in layman's terms: white trash, Alabama. So there was an update. CrowdStrike had an update that when they sent the update out, and I'm just going to talk about Delta for just 1 second. Mm-hmm. When the update went out and Delta, when they put that into their system, Microsoft system, it not only did it corrupt or shut down their Microsoft system, but when it did, and the Microsoft software that Delta uses to schedule staff, keep up with all of their flight attendants and pilots and where they're at, where they're going, and what their schedule is, when that got erased, basically it shut Delta down, because they had no way of some of that data they had to basically just re-engineer over the course of a couple of 2 or 3 days to get those schedules back online and to figure out where everybody was supposed to be. Cost Delta over $1 billion. And now we come out with this article. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on, from a cyber perspective, and I read the article, and it talks about really that, currently on most cyber policies, you're not going to have not much coverage for an event that's more of a how would you say this, Ryan? It's not a somebody trying to get in.
Attack.
Not a malicious attack, right? Yep.
Yeah. So my take on this and why I brought this up again speaks to what we talked about a couple weeks ago around the hard market, the struggles people are having, and where I think we can start to be both better value providers as agents, as well as add more revenue to our business. Cyber, everyone knows cyber. Cyber's been shoved down our throats by a million startup MGAs and MIT dicks who said their algorithm is better and blah, 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 blah. Okay, all that is true. I don't care what cyber carrier you use. Pick one that's good. There are definitely cyber carriers that are better than others.
Sure.
However, here's the important thought on this, right? This shut down Delta. Delta was a big one. Also hit a lot of hospitals.
Right.
Also hit my local grocery store. So I went to buy a gift card for for my kid at a birthday party, and we got a gift card for the kid, whatever. We go to check out. Boop, system shuts down.
Right.
Black screen. Uh-huh. People have to come over, and they got to take me to the service desk because they said, for some reason, since this attack, gift cards shut the system down, and now we have to do them over here on this separate computer. Okay, whatever. My point is, this isn't like your client did something wrong. Correct. However, there are real implications if their business gets shut down. Now, Correct. Things to think about. The reason that, so what CrowdStrike was able to do, CrowdStrike is, for those that don't know, is a large infrastructure player inside of basically the internet. They're part of the core of the internet.
Guidewire, but not insurance specific.
Yes. So they did handle this, and the article even says very well. It was a relatively quick response. They got things back up and running. So the waiting period probably wasn't triggered on most policies. And that's one of the reasons why the claims are, and they're only $2 billion is right. because the waiting period, right? So there's things on cyber policies that we have to be digging into the details of this policy, this is really my core message here. When you dig into the details of these policies, one, you can so strongly differentiate yourself from others, even with basic stuff like the waiting period, right? Take this example, send it out to every client that you have and say, here's why I recommend a lower waiting period, which, it costs you $50 a year in additional premium.
Right.
But if this lasted, the normal waiting period is 5 days. And if we push that down, now that you would have gotten paid for those 2 days you're out or whatever, right? Understanding these details is incredibly important. Additionally, we need to know that cyber as an ancillary coverage doesn't just impact the business when someone goes in and hacks their mainframe or whatever, right? Which means a lot of the cyber additions to a policy, the endorsements with low levels, those are only agreement number one. They don't include the other agreements that come on a standard cyber policy, which is where all of this would be covered. Right. If you had a standard BOP endorsement cyber coverage or just the first agreement on a cyber policy, none of this is covered on your policy. Right. So I think, I wanted to just reiterate one, that these losses and outages can happen at this point. The way the internet is connected, it doesn't have to be about your client. They can happen on a broad scale. And two, we have to be very careful with what we're selling our clients, because like this is not covered under the first agreement, the standard agreement under a cyber policy, right? It's just not covered there. So you would have literally no coverage. And now you're taking calls from people, like Scott, what we started this with, and having to answer those questions as to why you didn't offer them these policies and these deeper policies. So this is just another example of that. I think it's very interesting. All of us kind of felt it. It's funny, my podcast stats for the Ryan Hanley show, I was like, I logged in one day and it looked like they had fell off a cliff, and I hadn't heard about this yet, and I freaked out. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I went online, figured out what was happening, and 2 days later, everything just bounced back. But it's just all this stuff. We're so interconnected today that we just have to think a little deeper about how we're servicing them and the level of coverage that we're providing, et cetera.
We had a few carriers down, and I think NowCerts was down. Don't quote me on that, but there was some AMS that was down.
Yeah.
I'm not sure, but
hey, Ryan, I got one last question for you. Was there another topic we wanted to cover on this?
I think that was it.
Okay.
What I will say on your point about the cyber coverages, and this is not a plug, they don't pay us. That's personally why I like ProWriters, because they give you that, I don't know if you've ever seen it, Ryan, they give you that coverage comparison sheet, and it literally has like 100 different coverages on there, and it explains them in a layman kind of way, and it's like, here's this thing, this is what it does. Do you have it? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Ron, I wanted to add,
I love ProWriters. We use ProWriters a lot at Rogue.
That's who we use as well, and I lean on them. So our own standalone cyber policy just came up for renewal last month, and Brian Thornton is our guy. I don't know if that's who you use. And so his assistant, I guess account manager, sends me this document that's in landscape form, and it's got my 5 choices.
Yeah, that's the document I'm talking about.
And I take that document and I forward it or reply back, and I said to Brian, Brian, I know about as much about cyber as I do being a Chinese astronaut, and you're asking me to make a choice here. How about I lean back on you and say, okay, of these 5, Brian, knowing that your expertise is in this field, which one would you choose? Knowing that Scott's not going to want to go with the cheapest, I'm not going to, but middle of the road, best policy for my money. And he comes back and tells me what that is. So that's kind of where I was there.
That's why I strongly advocate against sending multiple options to clients.
Yeah.
So in the one call close process that we developed at Rogue that I teach sometimes now, we never.
By the way,
this is paramount.
By the way, I still want that process, and however we need to do that, whether I need to sign an NDA or an agreement or consultant.
Just call me and we'll jump on a call. I don't have to do that. You always only deliver one.
Right.
Now, if they ask for options, you always have those backup options ready. But my impression or my belief is, through my own experience and results, is that when someone comes to you and wants to work with you, if you have done a good job on selling them that you are the option they need to work with, and you've gotten their confirmation on that, you've set expectations, you've done all the things, a lot of the things, for the sales process, but a lot of things you did on the call that we listened to start this, they want your recommendation. That's why they're working with you, right? That's why they're on the phone with you. That's why they're responding to your emails, is because they want to know, hey, expert, what should I do? And I think that when we send out these good, better, best, to me, that's fear and laziness.
I think it also can confuse them.
What?
I think it can confuse the client.
Yeah, that's what I mean. To me, you're confusing your customer because you are scared to ask for the sale and scared you're going to lose the sale, and you'd rather be lazy in your prospect questioning and sales delivery than coming back confidently and saying, it's this policy with these coverages. Here's the additions that are optional that I think you should take, but you could always remove, blah, 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 blah. But you give them what you recommend, right? Yeah. And if they don't want it, then you have a discussion, or they have questions there, but you can't, here's where that doesn't work. If you don't do all the front end stuff that Scott did on his service call, right? Clarifying questions, building rapport, right? That talking about how you lived for 10 years in Glendale or whatever the hell you said, right?
Which we didn't even talk about.
I think it had a Ville or something
You're
on
making
it.
You're making you a human to him.
Right.
You're not no longer just a guy on the other end of the line. It's like, oh, this guy lived here too.
Hey, and by the way,
did you actually live there?
I did. Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely.
It would have been better if you hadn't.
No. So to both of your points right now, you're both so correct, because there have been no less than a dozen Harvard-type studies done from a psychological standpoint that human beings, the way our minds work and the way we operate, take everything else out of the equation. Take out of the equation that I know based on evidential facts from people like Ryan Hanley and Bradley Flowers, that Brian Thornton is an expert in his field. Yeah. Take out that I've talked to Brian Thornton and I can tell you this guy knows his shit front to back.
Yep.
Human beings are hardwired that we just don't do real well with any more than about two choices of anything. Like when you get up to this 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 choices, our minds, we just are like, holy shit, I don't know what to do.
I'll tell you a funny story.
Am I right about that?
Yeah.
I mean,
when I started working for Alpha, we were semi-independent, so we had independent options. The lady that I took over for, I was sitting in her old office, failed miserably. Like miserably.
You talking about at her job?
Did terrible. And got fired. Yeah. And I'm 22 years old. I was the youngest agent in the entire company at that time. And I had some am I going to be able to do this?
Sure, like anybody
and especially
would.
when they tell you the person ahead of you just got crap the bed.
Yeah.
So I remember sitting in the desk, still had all her old stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
I sat in the desk and this is first day, I opened the drawer to the file cabinet, and there was a manila folder that had too many documents in it. It's like this. And there were quote proposals that she had given to customers in there. Mm-hmm. And I pulled the first one out, and there were 9 options.
Yeah.
I pulled the second one out, and there were 9 options, 10 options. And I'm like, I know exactly why she failed. I'm going to be just fine. This was the problem.
Correct.
If you customers, at least our customers, like what I tell our clients, our model client is, you don't expect your accountant to explain every tax law to you. You don't expect your attorney. You expect to pay them, and they act in your best interest. Mm-hmm. The people who want those are our people. Like they want you to tell them what to do. What's your professional recommendation? Yeah, there may be some audibles with a cyber where it's like, this one has this one does. What would you prefer? Mm-hmm. But generally speaking, it's like, here's the option. Do you want to buy it? Yes or no?
Yeah. So it's a reverse logarithmic scale. So if you have one, let's say the potential possibility is they choose 100%, right? With each additional option, the chance is not a linear scale, right? It's like 90%, 2 options might be 80%, 3 options is 60%, 4 options is 20%. You know what I mean? Like it goes down steep with the more options you give them. So that's 100% the case, 100%. I'm going to give, before we sign off, I know we're at the number here. I'm going to give everyone, and I hopefully write this down. If you got a pen, if you're not driving or running, if you're at your desk or someplace where you have a pen, get a pen out. I'm going to give you 3 words that you should use on every sales call in which you want to write the business. These are 3 words. Use these 3 words. We called them a kill shot at Rogue Shot. At Rogue Risk. If you use these, this was your kill shot.
Hey, by the way, if you don't want to write new business, do not say these words if you don't want to write
like
business.
If you don't want to write the business, if they're unqualified or a crappy client, don't say these words.
Yeah.
But if you're like, I want to write this person, I'm going to give you 3 words. And if you say them, I promise you your close ratio will go up. We got you. We got you. Hey, Scott.
Love it.
I've written 100 businesses like yours, man. I completely understand what you're going through. And honestly, I'm excited to work with you. Here's the good news. We got you.
Yep.
Guess what I've heard people literally, I can hear them lean back in their chairs, physically exhale into the phone. Because you know what every customer wants? To not have to call every prospect. They don't want to have to call another insurance agent.
Right.
That's all they want.
100%.
They want to find their person who's going to take care of them. That's what they're searching for.
Right.
I want to find my guy, my gal who's going to take care of me. That's what I'm looking for when I'm calling and, hey, can you help me? Or blah, 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 when I'm referred. If you can just let them know we got you. Not I got you. Don't say I got you, because then they're going to text and call you for everything, right?
Yeah.
We got you. It also makes them feel safer because it's this whole organization has me. Really? Holy shit. I don't have to make another phone call today to an insurance agent. What do you need, man? I'm here. Right? Like you say, we got you. And I promise you, your close ratio will go up.
Can I give you our version
literally,
of that?
They're dying to do business with you at that point because they're like, thank God I have found the solution. I'm done. Here we are.
And I can go do something else and not have to think about insurance.
Can I give you our version of that?
Yeah, I love it.
All you have to do is tell me that you're going with me and you are out of the insurance buying business and back to doing whatever you want to do.
Wow.
Yeah.
That particularly works well on lender closings because they're just trying to buy the house. They don't want to buy the insurance. So it's like, all you got to do is, I've got every market you need. All you got to do is say, you're going with me and we'll figure it out and we'll communicate with your lender from here. I don't have to talk to you again other than to get a signature.
Yeah.
I think, hey, Ryan, I've been championing this for some period of time. For probably the past 3 or 4 months, I've even tweeted about it a few times. I don't think most insurance agency owners and even team members really fully understand or appreciate how much the general public freaking hates insurance. Talking about it, they get pissed off every month when they see the money come out of their checking account. My big thing has been we have somehow systematically became, besides the Internal Revenue Service might be 1A, but we have systematically become the most hated group of people in any industry in America because of a lot of reasons. But and then the cherry on top of the ice cream sundae is all we sell is a piece of paper. It's not like, I go to a Mercedes dealership and I can smell the car, I can take it home, I've got something. I've got a physical object that I took home with me. With insurance, all you see is money come out of your account, thousands of dollars each month or year. And I think most agency owners and team members just don't really appreciate how much people hate taking time out of their day to call you to talk about why their billing account's screwed up.
If you don't know people hate insurance, just tweet about it and you'll realize it real
Do you
quick.
agree with that, Brian, or am I wrong?
Oh, yeah. No, I think everybody is probably aware, but I don't think that they marinate on it and think through how they respond, their processes, their communications. I don't I don't think they think through the impact of what you just said, which I do think is a truth. I don't think they think about the impact in their processes, right? They're like,
yeah,
this is what I do. This is how we do it. It's like,
hamster wheel. Yeah.
I would tell people sometimes on the phone, I'd be like, look, I know I sell insurance for a living, but I hate insurance just as much as you do.
Yeah,
like, do you think I love seeing my car insurance premiums come out? Do you think I love paying for business insurance for my agency? No. I was like, but we need to have it. Do you agree? Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, hey, you know what I mean? Like, again, these are the kind of like humanizing, clarifying questions. Again, getting them to, the thing with Chris Voss, and he's got all like 2 no's and a yes and all this different stuff. And that some of that is negotiation tactics. Mm-hmm. When you're, in my opinion, when you're selling, you want them, as you did in that, again, going back to that customer, that call you took, like masterclass for service, but so much of that can be applied to sales, right? You want them constantly giving you a yes, right? Giving you a yes. So for you, Scott, I heard that certificates of insurance is a major problem. Is that right? Yes. Yeah. I got to get them. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, okay, great. If I could offer you a 2-hour guaranteed turnaround time, how would that sound?
Right.
That would work.
Hey, awesome, Ryan. Ryan, you know what I'm sitting here thinking about while I'm listening to you, but I'm also thinking I need to take Avery, our social media coordinator, and I want to take, that little microphone I have that looks so funny when I interview people with it? Mm-hmm. We did it at golf. I'm going to go to Walmart. Hand to God, I'm doing this. Oh, God. I am going to Walmart in Arab, Alabama next week with Avery. I am going to stand.
You're gonna get arrested.
No, I'm not. I'm going to stand at the front door, like, just enough away from the front door that I'm not impeding people coming in and out. And I'm going to walk up to people and I'm going to say, can I ask you a question? Now, most people can't get away with this. I can get away with this. Rand, I'm going to ask you a question. What do you think about insurance, just in general, and get people's reaction?
Make sure she's professionally filming that because that'll be really good content.
Yeah. I want to ask 25 to 50 people, random, don't know who they are. They get out of the car, they're walking in. Hey, sir, can I ask you one question? Just one question. And I just want to get your reaction. And I want to film that and put it on social media and see what I get.
There you go.
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to it. Look, Ryan's now thinking about it. Like, wonder what.
Well, I'm thinking. Are there a couple different ways of framing that question to see if you can get different or interesting answers? Like,
you could say, "Do you know?" Well,
if somebody says they like insurance, you must follow that up with. Have you ever had a claim?
Sure.
Because I bet you the answer is 100% yes, 100% of the time if they say they like it.
Yeah. So what is another way to frame that so I get multiple perspectives from, because, words do matter. And if you that's a pretty blanket question. What do you think about insurance?
This is going to make Avery so uncomfortable too.
I don't care.
Which makes it funnier.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, you could ask like, even asking like,
do you have insurance?
Why is insurance like, this is not the right, I would have to think through this, but like something like almost ask them the question in a way that's assuming their answer is going to be positive, right? Like frame it to almost like assuming their answer is going to be positive and forcing them to come up with it. Because everyone's going to try to be nice, right? Because everyone's nice. So they're going to try to frame it and spin it back to something negative and just, I don't know, watching some of the mental gymnastics, if you can kind of, I don't know, like a contrarian way of asking the question that forces them to do some mental gymnastics. I think you'll get some really interesting answers there.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to be giving this some thought, but I promise the two of you. And you know what? I'm even going to go one step further because I'm a nice guy. Instead of doing it in a small rural town like Arab, I'm going to do it in the Walmart in Huntsville, Alabama, where all the rocket scientists and all the defense contractor project managers are at. I'm going to do it there so that people can't say, well, Scott, you were in this redneck hickey town. No. Huntsville, Alabama, you're getting
you should do both.
No, you need to do it in both.
Yeah.
You need to do it both because I could see the headline, rednecks versus scientists, something like that.
Right. Yeah. God, I can't wait.
Close this out.
I cannot. folks, get ready. That's happening. If I tell you it's going to rain, best thing you can do is go get an umbrella. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to another edition of Hanley's Hot Takes. Might be the best thing we've ever done on this podcast and the most interesting segments because I don't know. I just, take your take on things, Ryan, man. I love it so much. I love talking to you and chopping it up. Can't wait till the next one, but I'm going to shut this thing down. As I end every episode, rewards come from action, not discussion. Guys, I'm going to say one thing today, okay? If you want to be happy for an hour, go buy a pizza. If you want to go be happy for a day, go play golf. If you want to be happy for a week, go on vacation. And if you want to be happy for a month, go buy a new vehicle. But if you want to be happy for the rest of your life, go figure out how to help other people, how to stop thinking about yourself and think about other people and what you can do for them and stop thinking about yourself so much. And I promise you, you'll be a much, much happier person if you go do that. Amen. As I end every episode, Bradley Flowers, I love you.
Thanks, Scott.
Ryan Hanley, I love you.
Love you. Appreciate you, boys.
Yes, sir. And guys, you are listening to the Insurance Guys podcast, and we love each one of you. Thank you so much for being a part of our family. We'll see you back here real soon. Take care.